Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 Smart Business Family Business and Business Longevity Conference. My name is Dustin Klein. I'm the publisher and chief content officer of Smart Business, and I want to thank all of you for joining us in this virtual environment. We've got an exciting program for you today. It includes two insightful panel discussions that are designed to provide you with a wealth of information about what it takes to create an organization built to last, whether that's a family business or some other type of organization. The first will be a panel of advisor experts, which are part of that all-important team you need so that you can create long-term success from generation to generation and leadership team to leadership team. Our second panel is a panel of three family business leaders. They're going to share what's worked, what hasn't, and lessons that they've learned in ensuring long-term sustainability. Now, this morning, we will also present the 2020 Family Business Achievement and Business Longevity Awards to a great group of honorees who have demonstrated longevity, sustainability, innovation, and of course, passion for what they do. And finally, we've created two unique networking opportunities for you where we're going to encourage you in groups of 6 to discuss the unique dynamics that family businesses face and what it takes for any company to forge an organization that's built to last. But first, we want to thank the sponsors of today's program, starting with Cuyahoga Community College, our title sponsor. Also Barnes Wendling, Cavich Familio and Durkin, Plan Financial Services, S&T Bank, Siebert Kecken Insurance Partners, and Ohio.net. But now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Patrice Blakemore, Executive Director of Goldman Sachs' 10,000 Small Businesses in partnership with Cuyahoga Community College. Again, our title and presenting sponsor. Patrice, welcome.
Thank you, Dustin. On behalf of Cuyahoga Community College and Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, we are honored to be a part of this year's Family Business and Business Longevity Conference. Tri-C is committed to the community we serve and understand the importance of family business in our community. They are a driving economic and critical to the growth of our region. Many business owners and leaders began their educational journey at Tri-C through a degree or certification program. After starting their businesses, they came back to Tri-C at corporate college for training in areas that improve productivity and performance. Goldman Sachs noticed how valuable Tri-C was in helping small businesses grow. And 8 years ago, they partnered with us to offer our small business owners an opportunity to apply for the competitive but no-cost 10,000 Small Businesses program. Our educational program helps owners grow their small businesses and navigate an ever-changing environment. We provide a practical knowledge and one-on-one advice from industry professionals so that owners can take their business to the next level. Alumni graduate with peers whom 88% do business with one another. But most of all, we give the next generation the confidence needed to carry on your family tradition. On the last day of class, a graduate stood up and said that when she started our program, her company still felt like it belonged to her dad. But now as she stood before us, it was her company because she created a growth plan on how to be successful in the future. Our program gives owners the knowledge to meet their challenges and the support they need to succeed. To further invest in your business and learn more about our program, visit our website today at www.tri-c.edu. It's time for our first awards, the Business Longevity Awards. We have 4 organizations who are being recognized in this category, including 2 family businesses that are being jointly recognized with both a Business Longevity Award and a Family Business Achievement Award. First, Cortina Leathers. Cortina Leathers was founded as a Conneaut leather in 1903 in Conneaut, Ohio by a group of businessmen by Charles Whitney. It tanned and finished leather for upholstering furniture and manufacturing leather luggage. The company later expanded into manufacturing upholstery seating leathers for automotive aftermarket, office furniture, residential furniture, bookbinding, and the marine and aviation industries. In 2005, Austin Capital Partners acquired the company. In 2014, it acquired Cortina Leathers. Today, at 117 years old, Cortina Leathers processes 9,000 hides each month. Congratulations.
Congratulations to Osborne Engineering. Founded in 1892 at the height of the Industrial Revolution, Osborne is a 100% employee-owned engineering design firm. In 1902, it published the forerunner of today's American Institute of Steel Construction Manual, the Osborne Tables, so that all steel shapes could be standardized. Now, this and other innovations developed by Osborne over the years helped increase the efficiency of structural and civil engineering design, making the landmark projects of the 20th century possible. Today, Osborne provides civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and technology engineering, as well as the specialty sports and fire protection and life safety, architecture, as well as commissioning projects. So congratulations to Osborne.
Our next recipient is the Gent Machine Company. Gent Machine was founded in 1927 by Richard Gent Sr. and his father Arthur Gent in a barn in Richmond Heights. During World War II, it produced grenade fuses and firing pins for the recoilless rifle. Following the war, Richard was joined by his brothers. His son bought the business in 1970s, and then the fourth generation, Rich and Adam, joined during the early 2000s. In March, near the beginning of the pandemic, all automotive sales stopped. At the same time, two companies called on Gent Machine to produce ventilator parts. It ramped up quickly to produce 8 ventilator parts and purchase new equipment. By August, it has shipped over 1 million ventilator parts. Congratulations.
Congratulations also to the Millcraft Paper Company. Millcraft was founded 100 years ago as a personal stationery and wedding invitation business. Now, over the next century, each of the family's 4 generations has unwaveringly followed the principles that President and CEO Travis Malakar's great-grandparents set in place in 1920. The family's priorities are set on positivity and meaningfully impacting its employees, customers, suppliers, and communities. Now, the company's leadership has been willing to adapt its business strategy to meet the changing needs of a constantly evolving marketplace. Now, through this pandemic, Millcraft has made a seamless shift to employees working at home, but they've also vowed to keep open every one of its operations locations and service centers. So congratulations. And congratulations to all 4 of our business longevity honorees. Good morning, everyone. We have a great panel for you of family business advisors. And with us today are Frank Fantozzi of Plan Financial, Sean Dockery of S&T Bank, Tim Abel of Siebert Keck Insurance Partners, Mike Pappas of Barnes Wendling, and Mark Trubiano of Kavich, Familo, and Durkin. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dustin. Good morning.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent. So let's get started, guys. First, we're going to be talking about what it is that you need to do to build a business that is built to stand the test of time, whether that's a family business or another type of privately held company that's closely held. So what I want to do is ask what each of you are being asked by family business owners or non-family business owner clients in terms of putting their companies in the right shape to transition to that next generation of either family or of owners. Or what is it they should be asking that they're not, that could be problematic for later? And Mark, I want to start with you.
Sure. Certainly what they're asking today, Dustin, is different than what they might have been asking a year or 2 ago. And, we've done these seminars in the past. We talked a lot about in the transition phase, some of the softer issues about developing leadership and corporate culture. But I find what clients are asking now, and maybe what they should be asking now, is some of the harder issues. We're in uncertain times here. We got the pandemic and we have a volatile election, and it's causing people to look at things, I think, a little bit differently. With the pandemic, I think people are understanding their own mortality, and they realize they got to move on things a little quicker. Estate planning is a significant part of my practice. And when the pandemic first hit back in the winter, spring, the first 5 calls I got were from doctors And they said, listen, I'm in the hospital every day. I need to get my estate plan done. So there's an acknowledgement that everybody's mortal. I think people are accepting their mortality. It's not a case of if they're going to die, it's when. But also that also translates to the family business. You know, everybody puts the succession plan off. They say, oh, we got time to think about that. I got a lot more years to run this business, dad says, or mom says, or the matriarch or patriarchal family. And they don't address that succession issue soon enough. Well, I think this has helped to the extent the pandemic is, it doesn't help. It's awakened everyone to realizing, listen, you got to address these issues. You got to address what's going to happen upon the death of someone. How are we going to transition the business? When are we going to transition the business and get it done? You know, before they would wait and not be proactive and leave it off. Now I think they got to deal with it. Not only because of their own mortality, but also the external forces. You know, it's not so much here in Northeast Ohio, but the pandemic's one external force. But you go out west where there's fires, you go down south where there's floods, those things impact people's business. And you got to be ready to address them. So I think I'm finding people asking, what do we need to be doing in case those things happen here, or in case we have another pandemic, or to get us through this pandemic? And a lot of it is dealing, you know, making sure it's addressed in your succession documents. You know, we've talked in the past about having buy-sell agreements that address the 4 Ds, you know, death, disability, departure, and discord. Well, you know, we may be adding another D after, you know, practicing for 30 years here with those 4 Ds. Maybe disaster is what we've got to address, is what happens if we have a pandemic and then we have the fires, the floods that directly impact your business. I mean, how are we prepared to deal with it? Are we prepared to deal with our lenders? Are we prepared to deal with the transition? Is there going to be cash flow to allow us to do that? Are there going to be insurable interests here that we can insure and make sure we buy each other out and have a complete plan? So I think there has been a little shift in what people are asking. Maybe people should be asking. There should be. That's a legitimate shift, is because I think there's been awakened that things can happen and they can happen sooner than you otherwise thought. So I'm seeing a lot of activity on making sure people get things done, making sure you have something in place. Get the planning done. You know, they may not have all the answers because these are new things to all of us. Certainly, probably all 6 of us here that are on the screen. But you got to addressed.
Thank you, Mark. Mike, what are you saying? And you need to unmute yourself, please.
I think the number one thing that people have been concerned about is just the viability of the business. You know, people right now are certainly running into situations they've never experienced before, as we all have. I guess fortunately, some businesses are doing great in this period of time, and others are certainly suffering. But we've had clients suffer from a loss of sales of 90% to some that are 200% of sales at the prior period. So, you know, you've got a wide spectrum of what's been happening in this environment. But the rule of thumb for everybody to deal with any unforeseen circumstance or to be able to transition a business to the next generation or to sell it or whatever is to build a great business. If you have a strong business, then you can weather any type of unforeseen circumstance that will be coming your way. So general business advice we're giving right now is you got to build a strong company, build a company that's best in class. People always wonder what that means, but very few people really understand what a best in class business is. And it's basically you start with a financial analysis and look, you know, get your vital signs. What's your baseline? Once you move from your baseline, then you can begin to work on areas of the business that are problematic and achieve best in class. And simultaneously with being a best in class business, you're going to be a strong business. If you have a strong balance sheet, you can weather the test of time. So we encourage people to build a great business, and the rest will fall into place.
Thanks. Sean, let's ask you the same question. What are you hearing from people? And please unmute yourself before you answer.
Well, what we're hearing is, you know, even though it is completely different from 2008, we're hearing a lot of business owners that are just concerned about the longevity of their business. And instead of trying to save it for the 3rd, 4th generation, you know, should they look to sell? Should they look to get out? So, you know, we're really working on a consultative approach with our customers. And that's our focus right now as bankers, is to get in touch with our customers and really talk about what's going on, completely understand it, you know, discuss all the factors that are going on out there and try to help them determine what is the right thing to do. Is the right thing having the business go on and grow, or is it the right time to get out? I I have a client that I've talked to that his response to me was, look, I made it through 08. I don't want to do this again. And I'd rather get out and get the money and give it to my family, rather than put them through what we're going to be going through. Because most of the business owners that I talk to, have a feeling that this isn't going away anytime soon, which we all know. So they're just concerned about how it affects them. And should they get out before it affects it to the point of that they have nothing to sell? And so there's that concern there. They've worked their whole lives to build this, and now they're concerned that this type of situation can take it away. So we've just discussed with them, continue to talk to your partners, continue to talk to your employees and your leaders, and also just try to look at what's going on and determine what the right thing is to do. Because I think that's the one thing that business owners do that is a concern, is they're very good at what they do, but then planning for the future, I think we're all bad at that. So just trying to get them to look ahead instead of what's happening this quarter or the next quarter, and really try to determine what is the right time and what is the right thing to do.
Thank you. Tim, I want to move to you. As people are coming up to you guys over there, what are they asking you? What concerns are they bringing to the forefront?
Sure. Thanks, Dustin. Well, everybody here at Siebert Keck wakes up thinking about insurance every morning, but we're about the only ones. So when it does come up, it's usually us pressing the issue. What we have found in the transition of business, family business, is that typically there's youth being introduced into that business, which then oftentimes brings growth, new ideas, new products, new markets, territories out of state, whatever it might be. So, and in our world, that raises concern. It's exciting, but we want to plan for that growth as the exposure and the risk grows. So we ask, what's next? They come to us and say, "Hey, I just got handed the keys to the castle here. Grandma and Grandpa moved off. They had a 30-year relationship with their agent. I don't know the guy very well. I know you. We've been in the community a lot. I don't know if there's something missing or they're not. I don't know what I'm looking at." So it's a lot of another set of eyes. We get that question a lot of times. We serve as that advisor out of the gate, and then typically take over the relationship. But new relationships as these young men and women step into the family business are key. And those are predominantly most of the questions that we get is, can you help me now that my family's relationships are kind of moving on with them as the transition happens?
It sounds like we're getting questions. You guys are getting questions about, is now a good time? What should they be doing? How should they be approaching it? As the generations change, are you the right person to be working with them? Frank, you work with people's money. You can't get any more personal than that. So if you can unmute yourself and tell us what questions are you hearing? Because I bet you're getting a lot of people who are scared right now.
Sure. For a lot of our family business owners and just business owners in general, their largest asset tends to be their business. And, while it feels very unprecedented, I think, the pandemic has made it different because it's actually impacted the way we live, where past recessions, past economic issues that seem to impact, our daily lives, how we get up in the morning, how we interact with each other. But I do remind our clients, just go back to the decade in the 60s, and you had several key assassinations. You had the Vietnam War. You had a lot of, civil rights movements. So there's a lot of similarities when you look at decades that things do happen, but we're in the present now. And we're feeling like we're in the eye of the storm. And so part of our annual review when we meet with clients is their business planning. We figure out, depending on the life cycle of the business, are they an early startup? Are they a mature business? Are they approaching exit strategy? What do they need to do to prepare themselves? And a big part of that revolves around doing a SWOT analysis, understanding the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and how to prioritize dealing with issues in those categories. A lot of it circles back to the team. I think everyone on this panel will tell you within their own organizations and the clients they serve, the team ends up driving the organization. And so, depending on what the exit strategy is, are you looking internal Do you have the team that you need? Are there gaps? Are you assessing the team and saying, all right, there might be gaps, but we can, with development and mentorship, move those people into various leadership roles in the organization? Is that an option? If that's not an option, are we going to look external, which is preparing the company to sell? And that's a whole different mindset when you're preparing a company to sell, and how you prepare to maximize or monetize that value versus doing an internal transition, especially when you involve family, because you might not be looking to maximize that value. You're trying to make sure that the ownership that's stepping away, the monetization that you realize can help them take care of their needs as they move on, but you're not putting the organization and the family that's coming behind in a position that they can't handle things. So those are typically the discussions we have, and they're on a reoccurring basis because things change, family dynamics change, people change. And so it's something that we make sure that when we're meeting with our clients on a regular basis, we're always going back to the team, to the SWOT analysis, and understanding how that business fits into their overall, financial being.
No, I appreciate that, Frank. It sounds like you're getting everybody's getting a lot of very interesting questions, and you're each approaching how you're working with your clients in different ways. I want to come back around and, Tim, talk about that approach next. As you were talking to these people, answering their questions, and as you're able to work with them in your own specialties to implement ideas that are going to help them, what should be the results at the end of those ideas that are being implemented of either doing it, or what happens if they don't do those things? And Tim, I want to start with you.
Sure, thanks. As we step into a new relationship, as the business has transitioned, and we are that other set of eyes out of the gate, we serve as advisor initially. For us, it's all about process. Our industry has been plagued with what we call copy, quote, and pray in insurance. And if all we do is copy a current policy, quote it out as quickly as we can, and pray the premium comes back lower, we've done a disservice to our clients. So as we form new relationships, or we've taken Dustin families through that transition and have transitioned that relationship internally here as well, from dad to daughter, or grandfather to grandchild. But that process for us, we've branded, and not to get too specific about Siebert Keck, but this process that we call Encompass is a 5-step process of risk management and client onboarding that takes away the kind of fly from the seat of the pants approach to insurance, which really in this industry you just can't have that. So the goal out of the gate is always in 2 parts: immediate. We're looking for premium savings, and we're looking for reductions of loss, whether that be frequency or severity. But ultimately, the goal is a long-term plan that the new family member has transitioned in, has formed a new relationship with us, hopefully, and we can set that sail for 3 to 5 years in kind of getting them in the right shape, and in that peace of mind that their insurance program is going to follow their growth and going to follow their business from previous ownership and beyond.
Thank you. Frank, you talked a lot about some really good things in terms of what people are asking and kind of where the directions are you headed. What do they do next? And what happens if they don't follow some of those things?
Well, that's why we meet with clients regularly. I mean, it's, listen, as a business owner myself, you got to worry about squirrel syndrome, where the shiny new object gets your attention and takes you off base of what you're supposed to be doing. So as part of our engagement with our clients, we have a plan. And the plan, we usually start with a base plan, and then we usually look at variations of their planning depending on their goals and wishes, looking out. And then we try to what they call reverse engineer back. And as I said, their business offers them a lot of opportunity to diversify away, or take risk away from the business, which usually should be their highest producing asset. While we manage money, I think, very, very well, a successful business owner will do much better than any portfolio manager. But having all their wealth concentrated in their business without taking it out through retirement plans and other benefit plans to diversify away is one of the risks that we work on. But one of the things we look at when we sit down with clients, and I'm sure everyone's seen that 4-quadrant graph about developing and prioritization, where is it urgent and important? We need to deal with it now. If it's not urgent and important, how do we schedule that into your planning, and how do we hold the parties accountable. So we involve everyone on the screen is usually part of the team. So how do we engage with legal counsel? How do we engage with the P&C company, the bank, the CPA firm? Everybody has a role, and we have to make sure everyone knows that role, and we hold each other accountable so that we drive results and we set dates and achievement to that. What you need to stay away from are what I call the time wasters that are, they're not urgent and not important. But the business owner says, hey, I need to deal with this. And our job is to really help them think through that decision-making process so that we can set and prioritize, the actions we need to take, set deadlines, just like, with SMART goals, as they tell you. You can measure them, you have achievable dates, and it's something that can be done. We make sure that gets in place, and doing that in a repetitive motion usually helps us hold the client accountable as well as the team around them.
Frank, that's great. And it's nice to hear that the system has worked for you guys and it brings in all these other folks to make it really a team effort.
Right.
Mark, from your perspective, you talked about some great things before, but playing off of what Frank said, how do you incorporate that as not just from your legal perspective, but, utilizing the full team?
Well, there's a lot because of these external forces that are out there. What we talked about the pandemic, and now another one is this election, this volatile election, which requires you to incorporate the whole team because there's so much that goes into the decision about when and how to transition. Sean mentioned that he had a client that back in 2008, he doesn't want to go through that again, so he wants to liquidate his business. Michael advised us on tax rates and how those are going to impact. I'm getting more calls even more than on pandemic issues on the election issue. We've got an election coming up and there could be a substantial difference in tax rates that could impact what we do now. I've got clients that are thinking about selling a business. Well, right now we have favorable capital gains rates of 20%. Do we sell now or do we wait with the chance that those favorable rates may go away? And if you wait and sell the company later, you might be paying at ordinary income rates of 37, 39% versus selling today at 20%. So that external impact or that uncertainty in the election is causing people to wonder, do I sell now, and impacts when they transition. And when you have an opportunity here to maybe transition a business at a much lower tax rate, you got to be careful because your people may not be ready right. While you were thinking, maybe it wasn't going to happen for 3 to 5 years, but now you're thinking, I don't want to pay 39% tax instead of 20% tax. Well, now we may have a gap in who's ready to run the business, and we can impact that. The call I'm getting more than any other call over the last several months is relate to same tax issue as the estate tax exemption. Right now, you can pass $23 million, a married couple can pass $23 million to their kids either during their lifetime or at their death. The problem is next year that may be cut in half, maybe even go lower than that. So clients are saying, well, do I transition now and take advantage of those exemptions before they go down? It's a kind of a use it or lose it proposition.
Probably the biggest thing when you're talking about the business itself, whether it's the family held business or the privately held business, is that people always want to perform at the highest levels. I can't think of anybody who sits around and says, I'm very happy with a mediocre business. Everybody wants to be the best in class. I think what Frank was saying before regarding there's a lot of noise that gets in the way, I think it's just that. A lot of people start working on a plan and then all of a sudden they get disenfranchised with it, or something else comes in the way to interrupt what they're trying to do. But I've seen the most successful companies achieve what they want to achieve by being very vigilant about their plan. And yes, I'm sure everybody's heard about it. You need to have your plan. It must be in writing, right? And you need to have accountability. If you don't have that, you usually don't stick to the plan, and usually something kind of gets in the way. So, we encourage people to have a very detailed written plan. Some people are very good about holding themselves accountable to achieving that plan. Others need other sources or people to help them. So many times we'll see people some people have asked us, said, hey, we want you to hold us accountable. We want you to be a part of that team. We're happy to do that. Some decide they want some type of business coach along the way or outside influence to help them. But it really boils down to the following, and that is you need to be very disciplined, you need to be highly focused, and you need to have relentless execution, because all the planning in the world doesn't mean anything unless you execute. Those that have relentless execution accomplish results. So it really boils down to, let's commit to a plan in writing. If you need accountability, get some external assistance for accountability. If you can do it internally, great. Your team needs to be held accountable. Everybody needs to understand, what our goal is. It's kind of, if you're looking at since we're in football season, we'll talk football for a minute, right? Everybody knows on the football team, we're working toward one common goal: is move the ball across the line. And the same thing in business. You need to move the ball across the line. You need to be highly focused. Relentless execution accomplishes results. If you have a problem along the way, you're going to fumble, and therefore you're not going to achieve the results you want to. So I encourage people to stay highly focused and accomplish results.
So Mark, let's pick back up. Thank you, Mike. Mark, let's pick back up where you left off. You were talking really about the importance of being able to transition right now where things were favorable.
Yeah, you have the two issues that are out there that are going to be impacted by the election. And I'm not sure where I cut out, but on the capital gains, we've got favorable rates today that may not be there tomorrow. So maybe that forces us to transition that business now to save for a purely economic standpoint. But then you got to weigh that against your team and whether you're ready, or whether the next generation or the employees or the sale or whatever it is whatever the transition plan is, that they're ready. And then the second is the estate tax exemption. The amount you can pass to your children right today is a very big number. It's $23 million a married couple can leave to their kids. That's scheduled to come back to half of that, and maybe even less than that, depending on how the election results. So you may want to transition your business now to take advantage of those exemptions, because you may not be able to transfer it tomorrow without incurring a 40% tax on that transfer. And again, you have the problem of, is the next generation ready? Are whoever the key employees are ready, or whoever your transition plan is, are they ready to do it? You got to butting heads, and you got to have it's an evolving process that does involve all your advisors to make sure they're all thinking about this, because it's a difficult decision to make, and there's so much uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen with the rates. We don't know what's going to happen with the election. And then when it happens, we don't know if they're going to do things proactively. We hope not. We think not. They haven't in the past, but there's no guarantee. So it's really a difficult time to plan, but one now more important than ever. You should be talking to your advisors, because these issues are on the horizon. They're coming, and let's have your clients get out in front of them and lead rather than follow on these issues.
No, appreciate that. And, ladies and gentlemen, obviously technology being what it is, we had Mark freeze about halfway through that answer. But Mark, thanks for picking up right where you left off. We really do appreciate that. Sean, I want to come to you on this now. So you're hearing all these questions. I'm sure you're hearing similar questions that everybody else here is hearing. How are you now working with people to do that? If I'm looking and saying, I want to take advantage of what Mark's talking about and I want to start transitioning, how are you working from the bank's perspective to help those people get to either that next generation or that next owner?
Well, and that's what we're seeing a lot right now is, we had a very good period of good growth with the economy, with these businesses. And so when things are good, maybe you get just a little lazy on your planning. And so that's what we're seeing now is we're just trying to make our business owners understand, we have a local advisory board for Northeast Ohio. We have an advisory board for the whole bank. They should follow that same structure. And, we were talking to a client where the response was, well, when things got bad in 2008, we put a plan in place. And, we've gone back to it from time to time. But for the most part, we've been doing well. And that's what I think, as we were talking on this call earlier, all the experts that we have on the panel today provide such great information that we all can't possibly know. They need to be putting a plan in place with partners, with outside counsel, with inside counsel, and then revisiting it at least once a quarter, because you don't hit a plan if you're not routinely looking at it and making sure that you're moving forward. So that's the biggest suggestion I would give is, as you're looking to transition to business, or if you're looking to sell, how can you know that if you're not doing what it takes to discuss with everyone to find out what's going on? I even suggest to my customers, call your competition. Yes, you might have a good idea of what's going on in your environment and in your business, but I talk to competition all the time because, one, we want to help each other. We want to understand what's going on in the market so that we can make good, valid decisions. And I think it's the same whether you're planning to transition to an employee, not only get their thoughts on what's going on, but the people around you. Do they think that individual is ready to lead? If they're not, then you have other issues that you have to plan on. So that's the key to me, is putting plans in place to where you're consulting a lot of different individuals that you trust, to where then they can help you get to the next level.
No, that's great advice, and appreciate that, Sean. So, gentlemen, let's shift to our parting shots, our lightning round, so to speak. And Mike, I want to start with you on this, and Frank, I'll end with you. Mike, as you think about what we've been talking about for the last half hour, what do you think would be the best single piece of advice that would be a takeaway for business owners or leaders who are preparing their companies for that future and knowing that they're going to deal with not just the uncertainty today, but the uncertainty that's going to continue to come tomorrow as they look to stay a business that's built to last?
So built to last is all about strength. And a company needs to have its financial strength and wherewithal to weather any storm or any circumstance that comes in front of it. So going back to 2008, 2009, the financial storm that hit, back then we had clients that were asking, I'm scared to death. What's going to happen with my business? There's no activity going on out there. Back then we said, look, the best thing you can do is build a strong balance sheet. Fortunately, over the years, they had followed our advice, thankfully, that to build a strong balance sheet. So when that economic time hit, he said, what can I weather? Because there's no work out there. So we did a stress test on their financial statement. I came back to them, I said, look, you can lose $1 million and not feel a blip in your operation. I said, trust me, I'm not advocating losing $1 million. I said, but you could lose $1 million and not feel any financial stress. And as it turned out, a year period of time during that economic downturn, they lost about $500,000. They didn't have any financial stress. They didn't have to lay anybody off, and they came out of it much stronger. And a lot of their competition that was in a weaker financial strait went by the wayside. So for them, they came out stronger. They captured more market share, and they were able to keep everybody gainfully employed. So, and building a strong balance sheet is not an easy task. It takes time. You're either going to have to put money in and invest it in the business, or you're going to have to retain profit in the business. So either one of those ways is going to help you build a stronger balance sheet. And in this economic time right now, those companies that have been following that advice are in a strong position. They can weather the economic downturn. Granted, the PPP money that came out was great for people. For some people, that just, even though they were suffering, that helped them weather the storm a little bit greater. Build a strong balance sheet is the best piece of advice.
Appreciate it. Sean, how about you? And tell us a great story around it. Best piece of advice, takeaway to build a business for lasting in the long term.
Yeah, I would say my best piece of advice is to don't avoid difficult discussions and questions. I think that's the key. When we're talking to clients and they're looking at their businesses, a lot of times they're very good at what they do and they want to avoid things that are difficult. And especially in this type of environment, you need to have those discussions. You have to. If you're not focused on the difficult part of your business, it could come up and bite you, and before you know it can crumble the whole thing. So that's what I try to strive to my clients is, we want to plan the best that we can, but at the same time, we don't want to avoid those difficult things that are popping up in front of us.
Sage advice. Tim, let's turn to you. Best piece of advice, and you can tell us a great story about how it's either worked or didn't work for somebody.
Sure. I had a mentor tell me once that the professional term for copying is benchmarking. So my answer is to benchmark as often as you can. In our business, our industry, when that term has turned into testing your relationships. So I initially answered this question with form a personal board of directors around you and your business, including these gentlemen to weather those storms and provide that advice when you need it. I changed that a little bit to say, trust your relationships, but test them as often as you feel appropriate. And that benchmarking for us is really going to the market with your insurance products to match against competition, to match against similar business types, to see kind of where you stack up, and are we making similar good decisions to those in your industry. Something that can shore us up today for the exposures of today. But going back to question one is to plan for the growth that I'm assuming this new generation is coming in with big ideas and big plans for the future. So benchmark, keep an eye on your relationships, certainly those that you trust, but continue to verify.
Thank you. That's great advice. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the key, or one of what we need to do, especially given what we've seen, is don't be reactionary. Be proactionary, if that's a word. Get out in front of it. I mean, get out in front of the things that can go on. Get out in front of the tax changes that came. So you're not chasing later and doing things late. And make sure you're communicating. And the only way you can get out in front of it is by picking up the phone, calling your advisors, and telling them what's going on in your lives, and they're going to tell you what's happening in the world of like in my world, the world of the law. We get out in front of clients a lot and talk to them about anytime there's a change that we think impacts them, but their changes that impact them, they either don't think to call us, or they're nervous about what bill they're going to get or how much it's going to cost them to solve the problem. When I had a recent issue where a client that had worked for a while ago, but the patriarch of the family had passed away. And then they were working with the accountant. They didn't call the accountant, and so I didn't find out about it till way later. The accountant and I were talking about things. There was some elections that had to be made that couldn't be made. Well, because he didn't communicate and didn't bring us all into the table. You're going to save, while there may be some cost out front, it saves you so much on the back end if you're out in front of these issues and have everybody on the screen here talking to each other about the client. That approach works so well. I've seen it work time and time again, where when we're communicating, the advisors are all communicating. It just is great benefit, and at a lot less cost, whether transitional costs, tax costs, whatever, a lot less costs in the long run to get out in front of these issues, address them, know what's coming, make informed decisions about what's coming down the road.
Excellent. Well, Frank, I'm going to give you a last word on this with a piece of advice. My guess is we can't build a time machine, go back in time and buy Zoom stock or Amazon stock or Netflix stock. So what can we do moving forward to make sure we're preserving ourselves for the future?
Sure. So I always believe you have to inspect what you expect, and that includes yourself as the owner of the business. And, we look at ourselves at our firm as financial stewards. And while I think managing investments is the easy part of our business, actually, the challenging part is getting engagement with clients to commit to planning. And as has been pointed out by our esteemed board here, it takes effort where everyone's worried about running their business, and rightfully so. But our job is to hold tasks to them. And so one of the parting advice I would say is, if you don't have a board of directors or a board of advisors, I strongly encourage you to have one. They will help hold you accountable, because if I'm on a board and I find that the company's not taking advice, not listening to the board, I'm going to say, why am I on this board? And so I think that would be one takeaway advice. Considering we're celebrating a lot of wonderful family businesses here, focusing on the family and engagement. We talked about not sharing equally is not always fair, and fair is not always equal with family members, and understanding how to communicate, engage, and elicit appropriate expectations. Not every family member should be in the business. They could be an owner, but they have no business, working in the business because of skill sets. And I think at the end of the day, when we go back to the SWOT analysis I mentioned earlier, the SWOT analysis is beyond just financials. You're looking at your infrastructure. You're looking at your talent pool. You're looking at what can take you out. And as we found with the pandemic, it's going to be taking out some businesses. And so I think it's important that you make this part of your regular process, revisiting this every year as an ongoing engagement, because we're in a dynamic world. We're in a dynamic economy, and things don't stay static. Your competition is looking to get better. And if you want them taking your lunch money, you need to make sure you're staying ahead of the game. As Mark pointed out, you need to be proactive and engage with your team. You have huge bandwidth of knowledge between all the professionals that are on this screen. You should be having that type of team surrounding you and engaging with them on a regular basis. That's how I think you help ensure your success. And then I'll leave you with this parting quote. It's from Dr. Seuss. You have the brains in your head. You have the feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. And I think everyone on this panel would like to be part of that GPS to help you get you where you need to go.
I appreciate that, and you can't go wrong with Dr. Seuss and the parting shot, gentlemen. Tim, Frank, Mark, Mike, Sean, thank you guys for joining us today. I think that was a great conversation with a lot to think about. For all of you out there who are joined us today for this, we hope you enjoyed this conversation. And if you've got further questions, obviously reach out to these folks. We'll make sure that you have the ability to do so after the conference. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you to our panelists. Now, let's meet the first 4 of this year's Family Business Achievement Award winners. Our first recipient is Brennan Industries. Brennan, a third-generation family business, manufactures and distributes hydraulics. Since its founding in 1953 in the house of the founder Michael Brennan, the company has maintained the positive aspects of a family business. Last year, Brennan generated over $90 million in worldwide sales. President and CEO David M. Carr continues to see new hires as valuable additions to the family. And today, the company has more than 15 locations while employing more than 500. While many of those employees are not family members, the family culture and atmosphere continues to permeate the company. Congratulations.
Our second honoree is Champion Personnel Systems. Champion was founded in 1964 by Ralph A. Shepins, the father of today's CEO, Robert A. Shepins. Ralph's success led to his becoming president of the National Association of Personnel Services, representing more than 10,000 employment services. Ralph even wrote its Code of Ethics. Now, Robert joined his father in the 1970s, left in the 1980s, and then took over in 1995 when his dad fell out. At the time, there was one office with 5 employees. Today, Champion has 5 Northeast Ohio offices, 30 professional staff members averaging 7 years with the organization, and serves 4 categories of employment services, including consulting. Champion has served more than 20,000 hiring clients and placed more than 1 million candidates. Congratulations.
Our next recipient is Delta Systems Incorporated. Delta was founded in 1972 in a small garage in Twinsburg, Ohio by James A. Berry. With just 8 employees, Berry and his team designed and built switches for niche markets, mainly for the outdoor power equipment industry. In 2017, the founder's son, Dean, assumed the Delta helm. Along with Dean's wife and Delta president and CEO, Elizabeth Berry, the company has forged a steep growth curve. Delta continues to invest in its talent and technology, fueled by family values, positions itself for solid growth well into the future. Congratulations, Delta Systems.
Congratulations to E.F. Boyd & Son. When Elmer F. Boyd moved to Cleveland at the turn of the 20th century, there were few professions open to African Americans. So he founded E.F. Boyd Funeral Parlor in 1905. Today, E.F. Boyd & Son Funeral Home and Crematory is run by the 4th generation of Boyds. As the oldest African American business in Cuyahoga County, the company continues to build on its reputation of respect, integrity, and trust. Its owners believe the mortuary business is about celebrating life, honoring each deceased person's unique path, and beginning the healing for those who have lost their loved one. Congratulations to E.F. Boyd & Sons. Now, we'd like to take our first interactive networking break. For the next several minutes, we'd like you to discuss at your tables what you've done to ensure the long-term success of your organization. We'd like you to share ideas that have served as the bedrock of your longevity and what generation your company is currently in. Now, we'll be back to continue this program in about 10 minutes.